Melania, a groundbreaking documentary about First Lady Melania Trump's life and a special focus on the 20 days leading up to President Trump's second inauguration. The President and First Lady will attend a premiere at the Trump Kennedy Center Thursday night for another screening. Melania's senior advisor, Mark Beckman, who produced the film, says this is not a political film at all, as the First Lady led creative direction for the film.
Donald Trump just had what might be the most humiliating Sunday of his entire presidency, and the disaster unfolding around Melania's documentary could expose everything corrupt about how this White House operates. We're not talking about bad reviews or disappointing box office numbers. We're talking about a $75 million catastrophe that reportedly involved tech CEOs being pressured to attend a White House screening while a national crisis was exploding. A film that sources suggest could lose Amazon almost their entire investment in the opening weekend. And timing that makes Trump look completely out of touch as Americans are dealing with what some are calling an execution by federal agents. This isn't just bad optics. This could be the moment that crystallizes for voters exactly what Trump's presidency has become: a corrupt money-making scheme where everything is for sale, and American lives apparently don't matter as much as promoting the First Lady's vanity project. But before we break down how catastrophically this weekend might have damaged Trump politically, real quick. You cannot trust mainstream media to connect the dots about what's really happening with this screening. That's why we built John Brown Show, to bring you real stories, real context, and no corporate spin. If you want coverage that actually explains the corruption and timing disasters, instead of just treating this as entertainment news, hit that subscribe button right now. Because what happened at the White House on Saturday night could become a defining moment in the 2026 midterm campaigns. Your subscription actually matters here. All right, let's get into what sources are suggesting actually went down, because this represents everything Americans are coming to despise about Trump's second term. You've got a documentary that reportedly cost Amazon $75 million when you include marketing. A film that box office analysts suggest could make maybe $1 to $2 million opening weekend. That's potentially less than 3% return on investment. You've got tech CEOs who sources say might have felt pressured to attend because their companies have billions in government contracts and ongoing regulatory issues. And you've got timing that couldn't be worse. Trump hosting a movie party while a nurse was reportedly shot dead by federal agents, and a massive winter storm was creating emergencies across 24 states. This isn't governance. This might be the clearest example yet of a presidency that's become a corrupt enterprise where everything serves the Trump family brand, regardless of what's happening to actual Americans. Let's start with the numbers, because they tell a story about what might be one of the biggest financial flops in recent documentary history. Sources familiar with the deal suggest Amazon paid $40 million just for the rights to Melania's documentary. That alone is an extraordinary sum for a documentary about a sitting First Lady. But reports indicate Amazon then spent an additional $35 million on marketing. Billboards in major cities, television spots, radio advertisements, the full promotional treatment you'd give a major theatrical release. Think about what that means. $75 million total investment for a documentary. To put that in perspective, major Hollywood films with big stars and special effects sometimes cost less. Sources point out that Sony made the Garfield movie for $60 million, and that film grossed over $250 million worldwide. Blake Lively's recent film cost $25 million to produce and earned $350 million globally. These are fictional narrative films with major stars, and they cost less than what Amazon reportedly spent on a documentary about event planning and fashion choices. And here's where it gets potentially catastrophic for Amazon. Box office analysts are projecting Melania could make somewhere between $1 and $2 million on opening weekend. If those projections hold, Amazon might recover less than 3% of their total investment in the first 3 days. That's not just a disappointment. That could be a historic financial disaster that raises serious questions about why Amazon made this deal in the first place. Because here's what sources are suggesting. This might not have been a normal business decision based on projected returns. Amazon holds billions in government cloud computing contracts. The company faces ongoing antitrust investigations that could fundamentally alter their business model. Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post, which has faced constant attacks from Trump. And reports indicate Bezos dined with Trump at Mar-a-Lago shortly before Amazon announced the $40 million documentary deal. Make sure you're subscribed to John Brown Show because the timeline is incredibly suspicious. Bezos meets with Trump. Amazon suddenly pays an unprecedented amount for a documentary that industry analysts suggest has limited commercial appeal. Amazon also donated $1 million to Trump's inaugural fund. And now Amazon CEO Andy Jassy reportedly attended the White House screening along with other tech executives whose companies all have significant business with the federal government or face regulatory scrutiny. Think about what that looks like. It could appear to be classic Trump corruption. A tech company with billions at stake making what might be a terrible business deal to curry favor with the administration, overpaying dramatically for a product that's likely to lose money in order to keep their lucrative government contracts and avoid aggressive antitrust enforcement. That's not capitalism. That might be extortion dressed up as a film distribution deal. Now let's talk about what reportedly happened at the White House screening itself, because the guest list and arrangements might reveal just how much this event was about leveraging presidential power rather than celebrating a film. Sources indicate the screening took place in a makeshift theater because Trump had demolished the traditional White House family theater to build what's being described as a gaudy $400 million ballroom. So Melania reportedly created a temporary screening room in the East Wing. State-of-the-art audio-visual equipment was brought in. No expense was apparently spared despite the last-minute nature of the arrangements. Commemorative popcorn boxes were specially printed. Framed souvenir tickets were created. All the trappings of a major Hollywood premiere transplanted into the White House at taxpayer expense. And the guest list reportedly reads like a who's who of people who might have reasons to stay on Trump's good side. Tech CEOs including Apple's Tim Cook, Amazon's Andy Jassy, and AMD's Lisa Su. All executives whose companies have massive business dealings with the federal government or face significant regulatory exposure. The Queen of Jordan, raising questions about what foreign policy considerations might have influenced the invitation. Former boxer Mike Tyson and self-help guru Tony Robbins. Celebrities who've aligned themselves with Trump's brand. Share this video with everyone you know because what's notably absent from reports about the guest list? Members of Congress, career diplomats, government officials who might have legitimate reasons to attend a White House event. Instead, sources suggest the screening was filled with business executives and celebrities who could provide value to the Trump brand either through deals or publicity. Think about what that signals about how Trump views the presidency. The White House isn't being used for governing or diplomacy. It's potentially being used as a venue to leverage presidential power for family business interests, to pressure tech executives to attend events promoting Trump family projects, to create spectacles that serve the brand rather than the country. But what might make this screening truly indefensible is the timing. Because while Trump and Melania were hosting a movie party for tech billionaires, America was dealing with multiple crises that the president apparently wasn't prioritizing. And the optics could be devastating as we head toward midterm campaigns. Saturday morning, just hours before the screening, a Border Patrol agent reportedly shot and killed a 37-year-old intensive care nurse named Alexander Pretty in Minneapolis. Video footage that emerged allegedly contradicts the Trump administration's initial claims about the incident. Sources suggest the footage shows Pretty might not have been brandishing a weapon, as officials first claimed. Congressional Democrats who've reviewed the video are calling the shooting potentially unjustified and demanding investigations. Think about what that means for timing. A nurse, someone who saves lives for a living, is allegedly killed by federal agents during an immigration enforcement operation. Video evidence emerges suggesting the official story might not be accurate. Democrats are calling it an execution. A major controversy is exploding that requires presidential attention and leadership. And Trump's response is to host a movie premiere at the White House? The contrast couldn't be starker. An American citizen is dead under circumstances that might involve excessive force by federal agents. The family deserves answers. The country deserves accountability. But the president is watching a documentary about his wife's fashion sense and event planning skills with a room full of tech CEOs who might have been pressured to attend. Make sure you're subscribed because it gets worse. The same day, approximately 24 states had declared states of emergency due to a massive winter storm. Sleet, ice, and snow were creating dangerous conditions across the central United States. Americans were losing power. Roads were becoming impassable. People were in danger, and sources indicate Trump was at the White House hosting a screening party instead of coordinating federal emergency response or even publicly addressing the situation. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez reportedly captured the absurdity perfectly when she posted asking what the president was doing while Americans dealt with crises. Having a movie night at the White House, she allegedly wrote, "The juxtaposition of Trump watching a vanity documentary while Americans are potentially dying from federal actions or weather emergencies could become one of those defining images that voters remember." And Democrats in Congress are reportedly seizing on both the shooting and the timing to create what could become major political problems for Trump, because they're not just criticizing the optics. Sources suggest they're using the situation to create actual policy confrontations that could lead to government shutdowns or impeachment discussions. Congressional Democrats have reportedly pledged to block a funding package that needs to be approved to keep much of the government operating. Their argument is that they cannot, in good conscience, continue funding the Department of Homeland Security, which oversees immigration enforcement, without major changes to how operations are conducted. The Minneapolis shooting might have become the catalyst for what could be a significant confrontation over government funding. Think about what that means politically. Democrats could force Trump to choose between accepting reforms to immigration enforcement or allowing parts of the government to shut down. Either choice creates problems. If he accepts reforms, he looks weak to his base. If he forces a shutdown over protecting ICE and Border Patrol from oversight, he owns responsibility for the shutdown while defending agents who might have killed a nurse. And sources suggest this could connect to broader impeachment discussions, because Democrats might argue the pattern of federal agents potentially using excessive force, combined with Trump's apparent indifference demonstrated by hosting movie screenings during crises, shows unfitness for office. They could potentially incorporate the Melania screening into articles of impeachment as evidence of Trump's priorities and character. Share this with everyone, because even some Republicans are reportedly expressing concern. Senator Bill Cassidy of Louisiana allegedly called for full federal and state investigations into the Minneapolis shooting, calling the events incredibly disturbing. When Republicans start breaking ranks on law enforcement accountability, that suggests the political dynamics might be shifting in ways dangerous for Trump. But zoom out and look at what the Melania documentary situation could represent for broader narratives about Trump corruption, because this might become the perfect example Democrats use to argue everything in Trump's White House is for sale. That presidential power is being leveraged for family financial benefit. That American governance has become a money-making scheme. The potential corruption angles are numerous. You've got Amazon possibly overpaying dramatically for a product that might lose money shortly after the founder met with Trump, and while the company has billions in government business at stake. You've got tech CEOs potentially feeling pressured to attend a White House screening because their companies face regulatory scrutiny. You've got the White House itself being used as a promotional venue for a commercial product that enriches the Trump family. And sources suggest the promotional schedule going forward raises even more questions. Melania is reportedly scheduled to ring the opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange on Wednesday. That's using an iconic symbol of American capitalism to promote what's essentially a family business venture. Trump and Melania are allegedly attending a public premiere Thursday night at the Kennedy Center, which the administration has renamed the Trump Kennedy Center, further branding public institutions with the family name. Think about what that looks like to voters. The presidency is being used as a marketing platform. Public institutions are being rebranded with Trump's name. The White House hosts promotional screenings. Tech executives whose companies need favorable treatment attend events promoting Trump family projects. It could all add up to a picture of systematic corruption that Democrats might make central to midterm campaigns. So, what could all of this mean for Trump's political situation heading into the crucial midterm campaigns? Because the Melania screening disaster might become a turning point that crystallizes multiple negative narratives converging at once. The corruption narrative about everything being for sale. The cruelty narrative about federal agents potentially killing Americans while Trump parties. The incompetence narrative about a president whose priorities are completely disconnected from what Americans are experiencing. Sources suggest Democratic strategists are already looking at how to use Saturday night as a campaign moment. They could create ads showing Trump at a movie screening while displaying images of the nurse who was killed, while showing footage of Americans struggling through winter storms, while highlighting the $75 million Amazon might lose on a vanity project. The visual contrast could be devastating. And the corruption angle might resonate particularly strongly with swing voters who aren't necessarily partisan, but are deeply skeptical of politicians using office for personal enrichment. When you can explain that Amazon paid $40 million for a documentary that might only make $2 million opening weekend, shortly after the CEO met with Trump while having billions in government contracts, voters understand that equation. That's money changing hands in ways that look corrupt, even if technically legal. Think about what happens if the film performs as badly as analysts project. Every story about the box office disaster becomes another story about potential corruption. Every article about Amazon's massive loss becomes another question about why they really made this deal. The film itself keeps the corruption narrative alive for weeks. But perhaps the most damning aspect of this entire situation is how it connects to Trump's own admission about what happens if Republicans lose the midterms. Because Trump himself has reportedly told Republicans that if they don't win in November, he'll get impeached. He's acknowledged the threat is real, and the Melania screening disaster might have just handed Democrats more ammunition for exactly that scenario. When Trump said Democrats would find a reason to impeach him if they take the House, he might not have anticipated his own actions would provide such clear examples. But hosting a movie screening for a potentially corrupt documentary deal while a nurse lies dead from federal action and Americans struggle through emergencies, that could become evidence in articles of impeachment about abuse of office and unfitness for presidency. The corruption could be Article 1, using presidential power to pressure companies into deals that benefit the Trump family financially. The cruelty and indifference could be Article 2, prioritizing personal brand promotion over addressing crises affecting American citizens. The pattern of putting family business interests ahead of governance could be Article 3. Think about what Trump's own words reveal about his state of mind. He knows impeachment is coming if Democrats get power. He knows his conduct is creating grounds for it. Yet he continues doing exactly the things that strengthen the case against him. Hosting corrupt screening parties, leveraging presidential power for family business, showing complete indifference to American suffering. It's almost like he can't help himself even when he knows it's building the case for his removal. So here's what Saturday night might represent. A perfect encapsulation of Trump's corrupt second term. A $75 million disaster that could expose pay-for-play dealings with tech companies. A president watching movies with billionaires while Americans die and suffer. A first lady using the White House as a promotional venue for personal business ventures. And timing so catastrophically bad, it could become defining imagery for midterm campaigns. The financial numbers suggest Amazon made a terrible business decision that might only make sense if viewed as buying access to the administration. The guest list reportedly shows tech executives whose companies all have government business attending what should be a private family event. The timing demonstrates potentially profound indifference to American suffering, and the entire spectacle might provide Democrats with the corruption narrative they need to motivate voters in November. Trump told Republicans he'll get impeached if they lose the midterms. Saturday night might have just shown voters exactly why. Because when presidents host movie premieres for vanity projects while Americans die and storms rage, when tech companies lose millions on deals made after CEO meetings with the president, when the White House becomes a venue for family business promotion, that's not governance. That might be exactly the kind of corruption and abuse of office that impeachment was designed to address. Make sure you're subscribed to John Brown Show because we're covering every aspect of how this disaster unfolds. Every revelation about the Amazon deal. Every new detail about who attended and why. Every way Democrats use this moment in their midterm campaigns. This could be the weekend that destroyed Trump's presidency, and we're tracking every development as the full scope of the catastrophe becomes clear. Stay tuned.